Yo, what's good this morning? It's your boy, Coach Dante, and Coffee and Sports in the Morning Empire Network. Shout out to everybody that's going to come through. Shout out to the Empire Sports Network family. Y'all get your coffee, wake up early in the morning, and come get this good sports talk, starting your morning off with your boy, Coach Dante, as your host of the Coffee and Sports in the Morning show. As on side of me, got always my boy Mo, man, always rocking with me, and my boy William at the bottom of me. How we doing this morning, fellas?
Doing great, guys. Ready to go. What's up, William?
Good morning, Vietnam.
Doing good.
Oh my goodness, man. So we got some discussions to talk about. Like we say, man, I'm so happy. Tomorrow's the NBA draft, man. These days going by fast. NFL will be here soon. Training camp will be here soon. So we'll get more in that discussion. So started off this morning. We got the Tyreek Hill allegations, and that's just crazy, man. All these NFL players getting in trouble, finding a good way to get into trouble. Outside of football, you had Jack Jones. He was a good rookie from the Patriots last year. I kind of covered him when he was at Arizona State. The cornerback had a great year for the Patriots last year. He's on the verge of going on a 30-year sentence. Now, all of a sudden, Tyreek Hill's under investigation on assault and battery charges. Man, Mo, I'm going to start with you, man. What is wrong with these goddamn NFL players?
You know what? I don't want to make excuses, because you can't make excuses. And correct me if I'm wrong, fellas, but didn't Tyreek Hill have allegations like this a year or two ago?
Yeah, he did.
So this is a pattern of behavior. And I don't want to single out any NFL player. Maybe what it comes down to with these guys is a lack of maturity. Maybe because they play sports at such a high level, there's pressure. Maybe they take some of that home with them. Again, that's not an excuse if these allegations prove to be true. There is no excuse. But in the case of Tyreek Hill, there seems to be somewhat of a pattern. And I'm curious going forward as this story progresses, will the same thing happen? Will the young lady retract her statements? Will she say it was just an argument, they got blown out of proportion? Because that's basically what happened the last time. Without knowing all the facts, all I can say is he obviously has a pattern of behavior. And if I'm not Kansas City now, the Dolphins, I'd be concerned with that. Because basically, while he's the wide receiver, the offense is built around what he can do, his ability to make the defense open up. He is basically their best player. He is the key to that offense. Two is the quarterback, but Tyreek Hill, he's the one that makes defenses stay up at night. As far as his off-field behavior, that is disturbing. And as an ownership group, as a coach, as a franchise, you have to be concerned with that. But at the same time, you have to let the legal process play out before you make judgments.
Will?
Yeah, I agree with that. But my issue is the risk versus the reward. You had to know that going in with this guy.
Yeah.
This isn't the first time that he's been in trouble. Probably won't be the last time that he's going to be in trouble. So you have to do your due diligence to prepare yourself for the worst. And I don't think they've done that yet because, again, there's no one on that team as far as that wide receiver room that can even come close to what that man can do. So, it's risk versus reward, and you have to do the proper assessment on that. And if you get it wrong, it hurts you in the long run. So hopefully, as you said earlier, Mo, let the legal process take action, see what it does. If he's found innocent of these charges, you can move on. But if he's found guilty, then that's gonna put a hamper in what you can do for your football team.
Yeah, it's gonna hamper the football team as well. Imagine going through another year, have to see him and Jalen Waddle, aka Penguin. They call Jalen Waddle Penguin, is his nickname, because the way he moves, but he is fast. Him and Jalen Waddle together. Then if Tua can stay healthy another year, they will be fine. But him and Penguin is something to deal with alone. But again, Tyreek Hill, like Will said, this ain't the first time he did it. He did it in Kansas City, I believe. So I believe he did it in Kansas City. So he has some troubling. He does have a lot of troubling issues. And one thing you can't take away from that man when he's on that football field is that speed. That speed is elite. Even when you're 10 yards off of him, he still runs past you because he's so speedy. So hope the Dolphins can get that cover. We got Jory in the chat. Key in the chat, Cool McCain in the chat, my boy Burn in the chat. We got the Sports Report podcast in the chat.
That's me.
Key in the chat, Chris in the chat. We need to get that boxing match going on between Chris and Cool McCain. We need to get that boxing match going on.
Oh, that's gonna be a heavyweight match.
Yeah, that's gonna be a heavyweight fight right there. We need to get that boxing match going on right there sooner or later. But here we go. We got another topic right here. Kyle Kuzma has declined his option, which will means he will be a free agent, unrestricted free agent. I'm gonna start with you. Will. What will be the best spot for Kyle Kuzma?
Any team that needs a 3. I think my Bulls would be a good landing spot for him. I've always had issues with Zach LaVine in terms of being consistent. Kyle's not the best. He's not the scorer that Zach is, or the scorer that Zach can be. My issue with Zach is consistency. And, at least with Kyle, you know what you're going to get game in, game out. Someone maybe a good 3, maybe like the Cavs would be a good spot for him. Someone who needs a good 3-and-D guy, I think would be a good spot for Kyle Kuzma. Yeah, he's not the biggest name out there or the brightest name out there, but he's someone that at least is consistent and he does put in effort on both ends.
Got you. Mo?
Kuzma's worked himself into being a very good third option, and he's a solid defender. So where he could help at, he'd be excellent if you could pair him, assuming Kyrie stays, with Kyrie and Luka. They need a guy that can defend and a guy that can get you 18 to 20 points a night. He fits the bill. He's also a solid rebounder. So I like him with Dallas. Take another contender. You know what? A great spot for him. He's not going there because they don't have the money for him. He always go back to LA. He won a title with the Lakers. He fits well. He's played with LeBron. He knows how LeBron plays. He knows how AD plays. Familiar with that system. That's another landing place for him. I think a guy like Kyle Kuzma, fellas, because he's not a star, because he's not a focal point, he can fit in any system. Like, he's that good a player in his role. If Kyle Kuzma went to Golden State, it wouldn't be the sexiest move, but I think he would fit seamlessly into that offense. He would do well there. So if they make a big trade, Kyle Kuzma would be great in Golden State. I think he would be great with the Rockets. I'm just saying he's one of those guys. I would say he's a younger version.
I like that with the Rockets.
Yeah, he's a younger version of Harrison Barnes. He's a stable, solid starter that you can rely on when you look at his production. So I like his fit just about anywhere.
He's steady, and that's the one good thing that you have to give him. He's a steady player. You know what you're going to get out of him. That's why, I like him on the Bulls, because he's going to be a model of consistency, particularly if we ever get Ball back. Oh my gosh. But that's a show for another day. But he's gonna give you that consistency that a team would need to succeed. And again, I love the Houston pick, and I love the Golden State pick. So, particularly Golden State, particularly if you can keep Draymond, that'd be great.
He is really just a rock solid player that you'd be hard pressed to find where he wouldn't fit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say all of the above. Besides, if the Bulls didn't have too many guys that didn't need the ball, it depends on what they do with Zach LaVine too. It does really depends on what they do with Zach LaVine. I would say Kuzma is a good fit, but if they didn't need too many, they didn't have too many people that do need the ball, then I could say Kyle Kuzma would be a solid fit for him. And people must forgot Kyle Kuzma averaged goddamn 20 points per game and damn near 9 rebounds. You know why he didn't get that recognition? Because the goddamn Wizards were losing. That's the problem. When you're losing, you don't get that much recognition. That's kind of went on.
No shine. You
don't get no recognition. And it's kind of went on with DeMarcus Cousins during his younger years with the Kings. They was losing so bad, he wasn't getting recognition. De'Aaron Fox losing so much, finally got recognition because why? They're a winning team. They're on TV. So now he's noticed. So all of the above, Kyle Kuzma is the type of guy that can fit with anybody. For the last 2 years, this guy averaged down to 20 points per ball game. We already know he's not going no down Philadelphia 76. We already know that.
That ain't gonna happen. That ain't gonna happen.
You already know he's not going. Yeah, you already know. You know
why he's not going to Philly?
Because he don't pay James $150 million. That's all. That's it.
That and the fact that he don't want to end up being Tobias Harris Part 2. He don't want to be. They don't want to sit over in the corner and not get the ball. He don't want to go to Philly.
I still say Tobias Harris made too much money for what he does. But that's just me.
That's Philly's fault for not paying Jimmy Butler. They had to overpay.
I would have paid Jimmy before I would have paid Tobias. Yeah. I would have paid Jimmy before I paid Tobias. I really would have.
And Philly fans get that dude so much crap. That dude actually a good player. It's just a contract. That's all it is.
Right. Yeah.
It's basically the contract. That's all. That's why they give him so much flop.
He's overpaid. He's way overpaid.
You expect that man to play. You expect that man to play like he a contract. We all know he's not a damn he's not that type of player to play, earn up to that contract. We already know he's a 20. He can average 20 points, but you can't expect him to drop 30. That's the organization fault. Organization botched that. Don't be mad at Tobias Harris. The organization kind of messed up that deal. They messed up that deal, giving them their contract. So go ahead, Will. Go ahead. Get out.
I agree. I just think it was too much money. It was just too much money and too much expectations for a player like that. When has he ever shown you he could come in and score 30 in a pinch? When has he ever showed you that? I answer that question. Never. Never. He's always been a 20, 21 point a game scorer. Somebody you can stick in there who can contribute, but he's not that guy.
In all fairness to Tobias Harris, though, he's also not a volume shooter. I mean, the guy gets 12 to 15 shots a game with Philly, so he doesn't get a lot of opportunities. He's a slightly older version of Kyle Kuzma. They're very similar in skill sets, and the only reason he doesn't get shine, one, the Philly fans can't stand the man because of his contract, but he didn't make that situation up. If you pay Jimmy Butler, that we never even had this conversation. Yep. If you paid Jimmy Butler, Philly would have already been in the finals by now, but that was their decision.
Yep.
Plus, you got Joel Embiid and Harden that need the ball so much. You got no choice. You got no choice but to sit your ass in the corner and get the ball right. Take advantage when you have an opportunity. So you got really no choice. You got really no choice. Basically, go ahead. I was
going to say, Coach, and now with the emergence of Tyrese Maxey, you get even less opportunity.
Yeah. He's a 12 to 15 and cut them. It almost cut them in half with the way Maxey's been playing.
Yeah, he's a fourth option basically. So he's not even a third option. Actually, with the emergence of Tyrese Maxey, you hit the nail right on the head, Mo. What I've been saying. So we got the top 5 underrated players. If y'all can give me 5 underrated players that's really under the radar. Mo, I'm gonna start with you. Give me 5 of your underrated players that's NBA that's under the radars.
I don't know if they're under the radar, but I'm not going with big names. But off the top of my head, we were just talking about him. I think Kyle Kuzma's underrated.
Yeah,
I think Kyle Kuzma's an underrated player. I like his versatility. Remember, he's a legit 6'9", almost 6'10", can play the 3, the 4, shoots the 3 at a respectable rate, good rebounder, solid defender, just a really good fit in any kind of offense or any kind of situation. Another guy that I think is underrated, but I think that he found his NBA lane. He just won a title, Aaron Gordon. I love Aaron Gordon's fit with the Denver Nuggets. What people forget about Aaron Gordon, Coach, you know this, when he was at Orlando, he was averaging between 18 and 20 points a game. So the man could put up buckets, but he found his lane as a fourth option, but a number one defender. Another thing we sleep on is Aaron Gordon is like 6'9".
Yep.
But he can play the 4 and the 3. He's physically strong enough to guard fours. And because he's so strong on the reverse side, when he dives to the basket, there's not a wing player in basketball that can stop him once he catches in the low post. Great hands, great two-hand finisher, nothing fancy. This guy right here has earned himself some money in the future. I think that he's going to make more all-NBA defensive teams. And now that he's an NBA champion and a key player in that roster, people are going to start noticing him more.
Yep.
Another guy that I think is underrated, and it's weird because I thought he was overrated at one point in his career. I think it's Kristaps Porzingis.
Gotcha.
I think what Kristaps Porzingis can do now, when you find your fit, because his fit is as a second or third option. When you fit him in as a third option, a 7'2" guy with that kind of range and that kind of touch, not to mention as a weak side defender, he's giving you 2.5 blocks a game. I think Kristaps Porzingis, if somebody was to make a move for him, especially in this era of space and pace, I like Kristaps Porzingis in an up-tempo offense. I'd love to see Kristaps Porzingis play with the Golden State Warriors. I like somebody like that with that kind of versatility, that kind of length. He's a 4, he's a 5. Sometimes he's the tallest 3 in the history of basketball until Big Vic gets here. But I think Porzingis has become overrated in what he can do for your team with his overall skill set.
Yep.
I don't think he's underrated. I think he's underappreciated. Mikal Bridges.
Gotcha.
I thought Mikal Bridges was underrated before he was traded. And then when he got to the New Jersey, when he got to the Nets, to the Brooklyn Nets, you found out that this guy with the opportunity to get up shots, he can give you 25 points a night.
Yep.
25 points a night, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and he's a lockdown defender. Everything the Phoenix Suns wanted, they traded away. They traded him away. And that's no disrespect to KD, Hall of Famer, great scorer, one of the all-time greats. But KD's a full 10 years older than Mikal Bridges, and he can't defend nowhere near like him. Like they had what they wanted on their roster. Yep. They didn't know that because they didn't, very much like Tobias Harris, they didn't let the man shoot. He never got any opportunities. The Nets are sitting on a potential gold mine because now teams across the NBA, they're inquiring about his availability. Teams are trying to trade for Mikal Bridges. The Grizzlies offered up multiple picks before the draft to get Mikal Bridges, which would be a great move for them. If the Grizzlies could get Mikal Bridges to fall into that slot where Dillon Brooks was, Mikal Bridges is everything that Dillon Brooks says he is.
Yep.
So those are my 4 most overrated. I don't really have 5. I was going to say Tyus Jones but everybody knows how good a player he is. He is underrated in this sense. We all recognize him as the best backup point guard in the NBA. I think Tyus Jones would be a very good starting point guard in the NBA.
Yeah.
I think he can play well because he's selfless. He defends well, and he's deceptively quick off the dribble. Probably got one of the best in the paint floaters in the NBA. I think Tyus Jones is very underrated.
All right, Will.
I got a few. Can my boy Bobby Portis get some love from the Milwaukee Bucks? Can he get some love? Increase his shooting range. Hell of a defender. He has made himself an integral part of that Milwaukee Bucks rotation. So you got to give Bobby Portis some love. Another dude I'll look at is Jordan Clarkson. Just for the fact he's played in multiple systems, averaging double digits in points, can do it both ends at spurts. I really see him underrated. Another dude I'm about to name, people might not agree with, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Javonte Murray, and the reason why I say him is because
I love him. Javonte Murray for the Hawks. I love him.
And the reason why I say that is because he does everything that you need for your team to produce W's. I think the only reason why he doesn't get the love he deserves is he playing on the same team as Trae Young. Another dude I'm looking at, he ain't the most popular guy, probably about to be already gone from Memphis. But just looking at his numbers, you got to give it to him. Desmond Bane, just by looking at his numbers
I like Desmond Bane.
and things that he can do, I like him a lot. He can play on both ends. He's tough-minded. He can score in spurts. He's not the most consistent scorer, but he can score. And this last guy, I'm gonna leave it up to y'all. Grayson Allen.
All right.
You know what? Never mind his reputation for being a little bit on the dirty side, but just as a basketball player, he's actually a good basketball player.
Yeah,
he's actually a very good basketball player. So
I think he is.
I don't have no problem with that pick at all.
All right, so my list is going to be the same. Not the same. It's trust me, it's different. It's none of the names that y'all got, but these people don't get mentioned enough. So I'm going to go with my first one is Fred VanVleet.
Yes.
Guy, man, like I say, this guy is a prototypical starting point guard in the NBA. Look at his last from 2019 to 2019, 2023, 2019 averaged 17 points per game. 2021 averaged 19. 2022 averaged 20. 2023 averaged 19. And also he's a 39% three-point shooter. That's an elite three-point shooter. Gives you 7 assists per ball game. Yeah, the guy can light it up. He's going to be a free agent this year. I think he's expected to go 30 mil. I guess he's expected to make $30 million this coming season. In the offseason, because he turned down 22 mil with the Raptors, which means he's not going to be that long. He's not going to be there. So look for him to get put up on the block and gets a payday a little bit. But he's a scorer. The guy's an elite 3-point shooter, and the guy can also give you 7 assists per game. And remember, he already got a championship with the Toronto Raptors, and he killed the Golden State Warriors in that finals. So good job for Fred VanVleet. Another one, OG Anunoby, his teammate. OG Anunoby shoots 37% from 3, one of the top defenders in the game. It's the reason why Raptors holding on to him as much as they can, and his trade value right now. Teams are looking to get a trade for him, but the Raptors said no, give me something good. That's how good of an upside this guy got. This guy averaged 16 points per ball game this year. Last year, he averaged 17 points per ball game. He also got sneaky, crazy athleticism, but his defense, his athleticism keeps everything going. So the very next one, and we talked about this guy a lot, Mo, in the playoffs, Norman Powell. Norman Powell is a guy that's a bucket getter. This guy gets buckets. This guy averaged 17 points per game. He played in 67 games. That's a good amount. It's a good amount of games. The very next year, averaged 16. The year before that, averaged 16. Year before that, averaged 20 in less times with the Portland Trailblazers. So this guy is a definitely bucket getter right here. Norman Powell, man, you got to give him credit. And he comes off the bench. Any guy comes off the bench. Yep. That's the problem.
That's a good pick.
The very next guy. Now a lot of focus is on Zion Williamson in the Pels. A lot of focus in Portland was on Damian Lillard, but people forgot CJ McCollum plays for the Pelicans too. McCollum plays for the Pelicans.
I ain't thinking about CJ.
Yeah, CJ averaged 21 points per game, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. He's a 36% 3-point shooter. We all got the attention. Everybody else got the attention on Zion Williamson in the lineup. The Pelicans are unstoppable. But hey, don't forget about CJ, who averaged 21 points per game, and last year was a big reason why that team went to the actual playoff and lost to Phoenix. They gave Phoenix a fight. They gave Phoenix a fight.
Leadership too. To that club.
I think CJ's been underrated for most of his career.
Yes. And this guy still haven't made an All-Star team. The only pop 20-point scorer haven't made an All-Star team. Hasn't really made an All-Star team. So CJ McCollum deserves that credit. And I got 6 actual. Number 5, you got Josh Giddey from the Oklahoma City Thunder. 16 points per game, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists. And I put one more extra guy up on now. DeAndre Hunter from the Atlanta Hawks, 15 points per game, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists. So I just put an extra guy up on now because I want to get DeAndre Hunter noticed up on now, and his guy is really good. Yes, when he's healthy,
I think he's one of the top 3-and-D guys in basketball when he's healthy.
Yep. When he's healthy, he is. He is. You got it. You hit the nail right on the head. So we're gonna move on. I'm gonna start with you, Will.
Hmm?
Give me your top 5 baddest trades ever that you witnessed, that you actually witnessed. It can be the Bulls, it can be your team, whatever team you can give me your top 5 baddest trades.
First of all, I'm gonna go right to that Russell Wilson trade. That was a terrible trade for what you got production wise. Now he has time to fix it, but hope with Sean Payton. But as it stands right now, I think it's terrible. Carson Wentz going to the Colts. That was terrible. The whole David Johnson trade with Houston for DeAndre Hopkins, terrible.
That was
straight trash. This next one might rub some people the wrong way, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Dang it, doggone it. Antonio Brown for those 2 draft picks to the Raiders. I thought that was terrible just for the fact that he wasn't the same since that Vontaze Burfict hit, and he wasn't the same after that. And then the way he was acting to with Ben Roethlisberger, he was trending his way at that point to being a locker room cancer. So to just get those 2 picks for him, I would have tried to have got more. Mitchell Trubisky, I thought the just to move up in the draft to get him was terrible with the quarterbacks that were still left on the board. And last but not least, I got to do it. That ball trade from the Pelicans. And come on. Just for what you're getting now. And I can't blame him for being hurt per se, because I don't wish bad on anybody. I'm not that type of person. But just about seeing what you got what, a season and a half from that production wise, just bad.
Damn, that's great. Go ahead, Bo.
That's bad.
The worst ones I've ever seen, man, that Celtics trade with the Nets back in the day.
Yeah, that killed
when they traded Pierce and all those guys was like, I don't want to. They were done. They were washed. They were all done. And the Nets got. I mean, the Celtics got back all those picks. One of those picks became Jaylen Brown. Obviously, that was a terrible trade. I don't even know what the Nets were thinking. They literally traded for guys that were well past their prime, thinking that they would take them on to a deep playoff run. I remember because they also added Joe Johnson, and the only guy that was close to his prime on that whole roster was Joe Johnson. That was a terrible trade. Another terrible trade, this is kind of more back in the day, when the Bucks traded Dirk Nowitzki for Robert Tractor Trailer. That was a terrible trade. That was a terrible trade. I have no idea what they were thinking about with that trade.
Do the tractor like that? Come on now.
I'm nothing against the tractor, but come on, man. You traded away a guy who was going to be in the Hall of Famer. Another bad trade. This is a football trade from back in the day.
Yeah.
When the Dallas Cowboys traded Herschel Walker to the Minnesota Vikings and got all those picks.
Yes, sir.
And all those picks were how Jimmy Johnson and them built up those 90s Cowboys teams that won all those Super Bowls. That was a horrible trade.
And what Minnesota got out of that?
that was a terrible trade. The Clippers trade with the Cavaliers that it was Baron Davis and some other guys.
Yeah, that led to Kyrie Irving.
Right, that led to the pick that was Kyrie Irving. That's a terrible trade. We don't have to go way back in the day, though. Just this past season, it's got to rank up there. The Rudy Gobert trade is one of the worst trades in NBA history. It's one of the worst trades in NBA history. You traded away 4 number 1 picks for a role player.
Yep.
I don't understand that. And the thing is, you have film. You have evidence of what Rudy Gobert can't do for you in the playoffs. Think about this. When they went up against Denver, now they're supposed to lose to Denver. That's a given.
Yeah.
But they had Towns and Gobert. Their version of the Twin Towers, if you will. They had both of them, and they did nothing to slow Joker down. Nothing.
Works if you in that. Works if you might. It might have worked if you were in the 80s.
I don't know about you guys, but when I used to play basketball and we used to be on the hardwood, and there'd be really big guys out there, but they were stiffs. We call them big for nothing. Just big for nothing. Rudy Gobert is big for nothing.
That might have worked if it was in the 80s.
If Rudy Gobert played in the 80s,
Mhm.
he'd still be a role player. He wouldn't be any good. He'd still be a role player.
He would be more useful then than he is now.
I guess he would have been what, Mutombo like?
Yep. He would have been Mutombo.
Yeah, I can see that. But the reality is, in this era where you got to play in space, you can't have a stiff. You can't have a stiff out there.
Nope, you can't.
You can't have a stiff out there. Another trade when Charlotte traded. They traded the rights for Kobe Bryant, Vlade Divac. Look, and I understand Vlade Divac was an established player, but everybody knew the height and the potential of what Kobe could be. Let's say Kobe never hits that ceiling. I'd be willing to bet money if he didn't hit that ceiling, he still would have been better than Vlade Divac.
Yeah. Can I say one more?
Yeah, go ahead.
That Trent Richardson for that first round pick. Trent was just a fraud. He was just a fraud that game. Just a fraud. Come on, man. I mean, really? That's a fraud.
Yeah. All right. So I got one. Well, you can actually put the Brooklyn Nets on that twice, though. You can actually put them on that twice because that first trade, when they traded Kevin Garnett and Boston traded Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, to the Brooklyn Nets. Guess who the Boston Celtics? Guess who those picks turned into for the Boston Celtics? Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. That's who they turned. That's who those picks actually turned into this coming season. Robert Williams. So basically, the Brooklyn Nets have built their dynasty. Boston dynasty had built their dynasty. James Harden deal. To able to not get a championship.
That's one of the best ones.
Yeah, for them not to be able to get a championship, and for them that squad not to play together. And the Rockets did a good job. Congratulations to Raphael Stone from fleecing the Knicks for the second time that they did. They got fleeced twice, and for that team to follow apart the way it happened. Hey, you got to do it. You got to definitely do it.
Who did they trade him for? Harden, was it Jeremy Lamb? I can't remember.
They traded Jeremy Lamb. It was Jeremy Lamb and OKC. That was one of the worst trades they did of all time.
Yeah.
We traded away Kevin Martin, Jeremy Lamb, and we traded away some picks for James Harden, and it proved to work out because OKC they still was good, but they never went back to the finals ever again after that trade, and James Harden became the superstar that he was. And I think this one is kind of underrated, but I do think both teams kind of panned out. I think both players panned out, but it's a difference between a star player and a superstar type player. I'm gonna go with the Warriors trading away Vince Carter for Antoine Jameson. That I forgot that draft, but Jameson was a hell of a player, but Vince Carter was a superstar type player. He was a superstar that type player, and it was proven to be right. Jameson was a walking double-double, but Carter was a superstar. That's the difference. That was the difference of it. You missed out on a superstar player. Nobody can forget the Kobe Bryant deal. Nobody can forget that trade. And then Will already said it when we actually gave away DeAndre Hopkins for David Johnson. That was Bill O'Brien. Everybody still hate Bill O'Brien for this to this day. Everybody still kind of hate him a little bit, but other than that, David Johnson was kind of up out of it already. He already hit his peak. He was 30 years old. He was slowing down. He had that one good season, and all of a sudden he came in. He robbed us. He stole the money. He stole money from us. But there's been some terrible trades, and the Brooklyn Nets has been a part of that experience twice. Now they got it. They did get it right. They did win a trade versus Phoenix. As well. When Phoenix did give away Mikal Bridges and Cameron Johnson, that hurt their depth. So you can kind of put them in that deal as well. So other than that, Brett said, on draft night they gave away Dirt and Whiskey. Yeah, that was crazy. They gave away.
That was crazy.
That was a tractor.
I'm still trying to get over how to hit the Rams shredded Jerome Bettis.
Damn.
I'm still trying to figure out one now. The hell? What? That man became a superstar. I don't get that.
Oh my goodness. So
We
because
can go
always a
on and on
crapshoot.
about bad trades.
Because
yeah.
it's a crapshoot when you trading for picks. It's a crapshoot.
You ain't lying. You
You
lying.
don't know if those draft picks gonna work out. Let me keep my solid commodity unless that pick is gonna be a hit.
So I'm gonna start with you on this one. The next one. Which NBA coaches is on the hot seat for next year? Which NBA coaches that you got on the hot seat for this year? For next year.
Next year's hot seat.
Yeah, next year's hot seat.
This name, I don't mean this out of disrespect because he's won championships, but I still say Greg Popovich. I still say Greg Popovich because when you look at it, he's not good for a young crew. He's not good for a young crew at all. He is on he's not veteran laden crew. He had during his championship years, Duncan Parkley, Ginobili. Okay, good to go. They were veterans. They knew what to expect. You had Tim Duncan there to be your quote unquote offset. Hey, Pop is a little bit older. This is how he is. Just deal with it. But now with the way the players are, this is more of a players' league. And the league has turned a lot younger. I mean, what's your oldest vet going on right now? Without because Melo's gone. You got a lot of these vets that are just gone. Now your oldest, most experienced player, 25, 24, 25, 26? A lot of these players not going to put up with that. He's a military style coach. He's got a lot of Bill Belichick in him. I've never thought that Pop was good for a younger crew. He hasn't been to the playoffs in how long? He hasn't been successful in how long? So I really think at some point, and I get it, that Spurs management is great. But at some point, you got to look at the situation. You're not winning. And Pop is getting older. So at some point, you got to move off of him. And I think he's the guy who's going to be on the hot seat the most. San Antonio hasn't won. Small market or not, you haven't won. And I understand when you have a championship coach, you give him somewhat of a leash. But I think the leash is long enough. You got to let him go.
So I don't disagree in the fact that Pop is older. And I don't think he's going to be with the organization that much longer. But remember, Duncan had David Robinson and Avery Johnson. So they had vets mixed in.
Right.
And then Duncan, Ginobili, and Parker, they kind of got to grow up together. I mean, but they grew up together under Pop. Mm-hmm. So I think that I don't know what their roster construction is going to look like. They do have young talent, but I think that before the season starts, knowing Pop, he's going to put a few vets on there.
He's going to have to.
They don't have to be stars, but he's going to get a couple of vets under because they do have some talent on that roster when Big Vic gets there. I'm not going to make a crazy claim and say they're going to make the playoffs, but I think they're going to have a big enough turnaround that they might be a threat to make the play-in.
I just think that, and I know Tim Duncan is part of that staff. I get that too, but
that's going to be valuable.
Yeah, but I just think, man, players are going to tune him out. Like I said, it's more of a players' league now in the NBA. And the stuff he did when he had all that vet talent, he can't do now. You saw what Kawhi did. Kawhi said, I ain't putting up with this. I am not putting up with this. And he was out. So, I just think it's time for Pop to go.
All right, Mo?
Coaches on the hot seat. I'm going to say Joe Mazzulla. I know he was a rookie coach. And he inherited a team with a lot of talent. But again, that's his first year, a lot of pressure, much was expected. So I didn't have any doubts that he would be back this coming season. But if that same Celtics team come back and maybe there's some little glitches here and there, maybe they add a couple of more pieces when they do their roster construction, because most of us assume, even though there's a lot of talk, most of us will assume that Jaylen Brown will be back.
Yeah.
They're going to be expected to be, if not the favorite to win the East again, the second seed at worst. So if they have the same results, if they come up with anything short of an appearance in the finals, I think Joe Mazzulla is going to get moved. They're going to move off of him because that team, it doesn't lack for talent. And I don't think everything's on the coach, but at the end of the day, you're the guy that's on the bench. You're the guy that those guys are talking to, that you're getting in their heads. You have a system. This guy struggled with how to use timeouts in year one.
Right.
And so I'm going to concede that was year one. Udoka was a tough act to follow because he had all those guys' ears and he had their respect. Mazzulla stepped into that.
Tuned in.
He's brand new, and I think they were trying to buy into him, but a lot of those guys were like, "We know as much as you know." You know what I mean? But so this is year two. I think that he gets a slide for year one, but I think year two, anything less than appearance in the finals, I think they're going to move off of Joe Mazzulla.
Yeah, that's a good point. And he did struggle. And he did struggle in the playoffs. He did struggle.
Eric Spoelstra gave him the business.
Oh yeah. You hardly saw any adjustments. Particularly second half adjustments. Just lackadaisical effort between those first two games he had against Miami. Part of a coach's job is to motivate men. And to me, he didn't do that in those first two games. And come back or whatnot. They just looked lackadaisical. And the thing that was concerning me about him, they were looking lackadaisical at home.
Yeah, right.
At home.
What is the point of having home court advantage when you're actually no good at home?
Exactly.
I don't understand that at all. I want to ask you guys a question. Coach William, let me ask you guys this. Don't you think now with the current NBA that franchises have a shorter hook for coaches, right? They want results like if not year one, year two, if not year two, they're looking to replace you by year three. Like they're already in the hot seat in year three. Like it really seems like the NBA has sped up the timeline for when a coach is a success or he's a failure.
Yep. I agree.
And I got three coaches that I think that's going to be on the hot seat, and that will be fired if things don't straighten up in this organization. Number one, I got Chauncey Billups. Chauncey Billups is on the hot seat for Portland. The last couple of years he's been coaching. We understand they ain't got the best roster, but again, you got Jeremy Grant. You got a guy, if he stays on the floor, he's a 20-point per game scorer. Yusuf Nurkic, and some of this, may not be his fault, but again, hey, injuries or not, you got to find a way. You got to find a way to go with the best guys you got out there. Chauncey Billups is on the hot seat. If things doesn't get better in Portland, you will have AJ Hinch, not AJ Hinch, but Chris Finch from the Minnesota Timberwolves. Chris Finch, that's a hell of a that's a solid, okay roster. It's not a championship roster, but you got a young Anthony Edwards is emerging. You traded for Rudy Gobert, Karl Anthony Towns, and you still got no good down results up out of that. So then he's going on 2 years of coaching that team. So if it doesn't get straightened up quickly, I can see him being on the hot seat. And another one, I think he's did all he could with this roster, but I'm gonna go with Willie Green from the Pels. Even with Zion out, you still got Brandon Ingram. You still got CJ McCollum.
Facts.
You still got Trey Murphy.
I think Trey Murphy is going to be a breakout starter.
I like Trey Murphy.
I think he will be too. You play fantasy basketball, that's a player to look out for.
Yeah. You still got Trey Murphy. You still got Alvarado, which I think he missed some time this year. But you still got a good enough team to challenge at least a playoff spot. You still got a good enough team. And, those are my three coaches that I can see.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
Since we're talking about coaching, I want to get back on what you said about Chauncey Billups. Do you think some of this is at the fault of Chauncey for look, you got Damian Lillard. I get that. You got Jeremy Grant. I understand that. But do you think Chauncey should have waited for a better job opportunity?
I mean, you can say should have waited, but again, we know coaches. We know once you get that opportunity, especially with a team like Portland, you're gonna jump at that opportunity right then and now. You're gonna jump at, and plus he came from the headquarters for the NBA off the NBA show. So once you get that opportunity and the money is right, you're gonna immediately jump at that. You're gonna immediately jump at it regardless of what it is. And I think that's what he did. And he didn't come in a good situation. Let's not be granted. But front offices, when you get 3 to 4 years, they ain't got that type of patience, no goddamn more.
Not no more.
And guess what, guys? Everybody don't get their first coaching assignment and they get to inherit Giannis and Brook Lopez and Drew like Adrian Griffin. That's more exception than rule. Your first coaching job, you usually don't inherit a team with championship aspirations.
Yep.
So that's why I think that Joe Mazzulla, back to him, is going to be a shorter hook, because they're going to say, all we know is with Coach Udoka, we was in the finals and we lost in 6. And with this talent, they expect to be in multiple finals. So I comparing that or contrasting that to Chauncey Billups, Coach hit it on the head. Yeah, you don't have the best roster construction, but front offices don't have that. They don't have the kind of patience. You do have solid players, Jeremy Grant, Miles Simons, Shaden Sharp is up and coming.
Mm-hmm.
You have to find a way to at least give the season ticket holders a reason to keep coming back. You have to at least get into the playoffs with that roster.
Yep.
Whether you ever win a title with Dame or not, you got to be competitive.
Right.
What you think with why you think I was calling for Steven Silas head in Houston? He had 3 goddamn good years. Now the first time I gave him a pass because he came in, have to deal with James Harden bullshit, what was going on, being undisciplined, throwing balls at teammates. Now I gave him a pass for that. But then again, you come back with a full season, no improvement. You come back this season, yes, you win 22 games, but the players lose respect for you in the locker room. If you lose the respect of those players, then you don't need to be coaching. You don't need to be coaching out there if you lose respect of those players. NFL is more strict than the NBA. You see coaches get fired you see coaches get fired on that first season. You see coaches literally get fired on that first season. So in the NBA, you ain't got that type of patience. You got probably a 3-year line. We seen the coach from Michigan that used to coach from Michigan. His name Beeline. I think Beeline. He got canned his first year in Cleveland, and happily it was the right move. Who did that lead to? JB Bickerstaff. They ended up in the playoffs. So it's all, like I say. I think you just got a 3-year kind of window. If not, just depending on how the players respond to you and how the front office respond. You got basically a 3-year window to get things done.
Let's also take into credit that not all front offices are the same.
Yep.
So
100%. It does matter at the top of your franchise how it's ran. 100. Yep. I'm with you on that.
Yep.
It can make or break not just the franchise, depending on who you bring in. It can make or break careers.
Yep.
So I'm with you.
But Will, how do you feel about Billy Donovan? Do you think he's actually safe? Do you think he's safe? Okay.
Nope. Okay. He would have been my second pick. If I would have given on, he would have been my second pick. I had my doubts about him once we signed him. I never liked him. I never liked him. And I know I put my Bulls up there, but I've been a Bulls fan since the Jordan days. And I just want to see them do the things they need to do to be successful. And so far, the only thing they really did to be successful is get rid of Garpax. That combination was just terrible. So they're sort of kind of righting the ship a little bit, but they still got work to do.
Yeah, gotcha.
Let me ask you this, Will.
Go ahead.
So I think we all agree. You don't question the ability or the talent. I would say the talent of Zach LaVine.
Yeah.
And even though DeMar DeRozan is, I think 32, 33.
33. Yeah, I think so.
He still is a walking bucket. Like DeMar DeRozan is one of the best mid-range, not just shooters, but his superpower, get to the foul line 10 times a game. So
and I brought
he's still playing at a high level.
And I brought this up the other day, and some people tune me in, some people tune me out. If you gave Ben Simmons his mid-range game, it'd be a totally different Ben Simmons. Yeah. Because when you look at DeMar DeRozan from that mid-range, he's fabulous. He's fantastic. If you were to give that game to Ben Simmons, he'll be a completely different player.
He wouldn't be Ben Simmons.
Nope, he wouldn't be a completely different player. Phil would have never released him. So people need to value that mid-range. I know we're in the offense mindset of shooting the 3, but hey, if you got a solid mid-range game, you can still be an asset.
Do you think that right now, though, on your roster, I'm just talking about top to bottom, do you think you have the guy, or do you think that you guys are still searching for the guy? Because that's why I hear so much people, you hear the talks of Zach LaVine being moved. I actually do think he might be one of the bigger dominoes that'll fall because no one questions his ability. I just don't think he has the ability to be the best player on a title contender.
I think with Zach, the only thing that kills me with Zach, is he a talent? Yes, he's a hell of a talent. Can he score? Yes. My issue with Zach has always been his consistency. When you've never really seen him step up in a big moment. And you might be right, Eagles Elite Podcast. He will still be soft mentally, but at least he'll be able to give you more from the perimeter. But that's my only issue with Zach. It's just the fact is he's not consistent enough for me to count on as a superstar. Is he a star? Yes. But
he's a star.
I don't think he is. Yeah.
Stars are good. I think he's a star.
It's a difference. It's kind of like on a level when I said Antoine Jameson, Vince Carter. It's a difference between star and star. Carter was a star. Carter was a superstar in the NBA. Now I think Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan, they're stars. They're not superstar type.
Superstar.
But again, the Bulls are too. That with those two alone, you should not be just making a play-in tournament.
You should be making the playoffs.
You should be you should be making the playoffs. With the Eastern Conference is not even being really all that well out. The only threats you got is Milwaukee, Miami, pretty much Milwaukee, Miami, and Boston. They're the only threats you really got. Everybody else, you got Cleveland, who can be good, who can be streaky at times. You got New York, who's getting better. Philadelphia, they're going to make a playoff team. They're going to be a playoff team, but nothing more, nothing special. This team should be no more than the 6th or 5th best team in the East.
The 6th best team in the East.
This is a good roster. I mean, with Boot can even get you a double-double and knock down the 3. See, that's why I'm struggling. Again, Zach LaVine has all of making to become a superstar, but you know what kills it for me? He shoots too many jumpers to be athletic. He shoots too many jumpers.
He settles.
A lot of jump shots.
Yeah.
A lot.
Zach LaVine should be getting to the foul line as much as DeRozan. He's younger. He's more explosive. As explosive as DeMar was, Zach LaVine is right now. And you're right. Zach LaVine, even when he can blow by on a one-on-one, he'll take a step back.
He'll take a step back shot. And like
you got two talented wings in an NBA that star for guys that can create off the dribble. The Miami Heat have one guy that can create off the dribble and they took them all the way to the finals. The Bulls have two guys at a high level.
And a big. And arguably you can say they're big.
And Vucevic, you can lock Vuce in for 18 and 11. Lock him in. So I you know what? Maybe it comes down to a common denominator, coaching.
I think that's what it is.
That's the only thing I can think of right now.
That's what it is.
You got the players. You got the players.
You still need a point. So that's when I'm hoping ball comes back, but I'm not counting on it. But they still need a point. But when you saw Lonzo in that starting lineup, they were rolling.
Yep. They were.
They were rolling. Yep. So we still need
Lonzo put everybody in their right place, because then you have Caruso coming off the bench, being the defender that he is, leading that second unit. It makes all the difference in the world when you've got a true lead guard. Then everybody's in their proper role.
Yep, and not only do I like Caruso, for the fact not only does he come off the bench, but he contributes the best he can on the defensive end too. That's another reason I like Caruso. Yep.
So we I'm gonna start with you, Will, up on this one. We got an interesting topic right here. So, which player would be better if they're in their careers, if they were drafted somewhere else out of the NFL and NBA? It can be an NBA, NFL. Which player will be better somewhere else if they got drafted somewhere better? Which player? Like, which player comes in your mind?
I want to, and this is going to sound kind of two-faced, because he did. What's up, Desmond? He did do a good job while he was there, but I'd still say Jameis Winston would have been better somewhere else.
Hey, you stole my thunder. That's what I was going to.
When you look at, I wanted him to leave the state of Florida. I love what you did for Florida State. Don't get me wrong, Florida State fan through and through. Love what you did for FSU. I wanted him to get out of the state of Florida, because the whole crab legs thing just took a life of his own. Then he went down to Tampa Bay and he did his thing. Don't get me wrong. He had that 30 for 30 season, 5,000 passing yards. But that was an offense that, I don't know, it was running gun. There was really no coaching there for him. No quarterback development. Just throw the ball downfield and see what happens. And we'll live with it. So I always thought he would have been better somewhere else.
All right, Mo.
Well, he took my number one, so I'm gonna go with my number two. And this guy's career is not over either. I think Marcus Mariota would have been better somewhere else too. I think if people, because if you recognize, if you know you drafted him and you know his skill set screams RPO, right? It screams RPO.
Yep.
You put it. I'll give you an example. If you put Marcus Mariota with Kyle Shanahan and watch him take off, watch what he would have done with the right kind of coaching, setting him up. Because the key to coaching in the NFL more than any league is you set your guys up for success. And I think Marcus Mariota was never set up for success.
And that's a good point because you see what Brock Purdy did. So, if you would have took Marcus Mariota, who's a better quarterback, he would have
a much better athlete. Marcus Mariota, he's got will. Look, I would make the argument, and I know Freddie didn't want to hear this. Marcus Mariota is better than Daniel Jones.
I agree. I agree.
Freddie, you better pop up here, Freddie.
Pop in here, Freddie. Come on, Freddie. Come on, Freddie. Pop up in here.
Dez, who you got?
I say Dame Dollar, man. I think if he got drafted somewhere else, I think he could have. I mean, he's taken the Portland franchise to different heights, but we talked about this yesterday. You guys sell the whole damn team. You guys sell them now to get what you can get for future assets. I feel like if he went to a team, like the Nuggets or somewhere else, I think his career would have blossomed. I mean, he still got some time, but I feel that
that's a good
Dame Dollar. If he was drafted somewhere else, he could have been at least having 2 or 3 championships by this point.
Yep. Oh, I'm gonna say this. I got an NFL one and the NBA one. So I'm gonna say Tyreek Evans. If he wasn't drafted by the Kings, Kings totally underutilized him. They utilized him wrong as hell. He comes out the first year, he averaged 25 and 5 his rookie year and wins the rookie of the year. I remember Scott watching him in Memphis over there during when John Calipari used to coach the Memphis Tigers. He comes out of the NBA, averaged 25 and 5. He was at the point guard position. The very next year, they put him as shooting guard, and he's not type of guy that he's not that good. He's not a great shooter to be playing without the basketball. They totally underutilized him. And the Kings back in this time, they underutilized everybody. But all of a sudden, they make the wrong picks. But Tyreek Evans was the right pick. They just used him the wrong way. They tried to put him in shooting guard, and they hampered him a lot. And
he's one of my favorite players.
Yeah,
I'll admit it. And I know he's had all the struggles afterwards, but there's certain guys you just root really hard for.
Yeah.
Sean Livingston is one of those guys I rooted hard. I love how he reinvented himself. I had hoped that Tyreek Evans could reinvent himself in some kind of way, but it never really happened. But anybody that saw him before the injuries, he can break anybody down off the dribble.
Yep. Yeah, he goes to Memphis. He gets back to 20 points per game season. So if he didn't start out with the Kings, I definitely believe he will be a guy. And another guy I have to hate for it. And I know a lot of people don't like him. A lot of people don't like him and say he was bad, but I'm gonna make my case for him. Derek Carr. If he wasn't with the Houston Texans, if he had a better offensive line, we get to see what type of quarterback he would have been. What type of quarterback? The only reason is the offensive line. Our offensive line gave up 82 sacks that first year. And like I say, we was an expansion team at that time. So we had no offensive line. We rarely had wide receiver. We really didn't have nothing. Our best pass catcher was a tight end named Miller. Our best cornerback was Glenn, who's a defensive coordinator for the Lions. He played in the secondary, Aaron Glenn over there. Shout out to that brother over there. But if Derek Carr had an offensive line, I believe he could have really done something in the league. He had a better offensive line that could keep him upright because he had an arm. He had a definitely arm, and he also had Andre Johnson. But the offensive line, giving up 82 sacks, and the way he took so much punishment, his career ended pretty badly on a bad note. So
East Coast Gridiron brought up a good one.
Go ahead. Which one?
He brought up East Coast Gridiron brought up a good one.
No. Yep. It's a nice one. That's a good one right there. Yeah, he's a Jags fan, so he definitely know the pain. Know the pain that I put on Derek Carr. So All right, so I'm gonna start with you, Mo, up on this question. Which Hall of Fame running back are you talking about? Are you taking basically? Marshall Faulk, LaDainian Tomlinson.
Easy, Marshall Faulk. I don't think it's close. Not just because obviously he went to 2 Super Bowls and won a Super Bowl. Just look at their skill sets. They are similar. Both can give you 1,500 yards on the ground. Both are really good out the backfield. The difference is Marshall Faulk could run routes that wide receivers run.
Yeah.
He ran routes like that. Marshall Faulk knew how to read defenses the way Kurt Warner knew how to read defenses. Like he can make adjustments to the scheme. If he saw a safety sneaking up, or if he knew a blitz was coming, like he could anticipate that. Marshall Faulk thought like a quarterback, even though he was a running back. Like I know the running back position has been devalued, but if you get a running back with that skill set in today's football, a guy that could potentially give you 1,000 yards on the ground and in the air, you can't devalue somebody like that. Marshall Faulk, he's not one-on-one because obviously the great Roger Craig did it first, but Marshall Faulk took it to another level with his route running.
Got you, Des.
I gotta say, Marshall Faulk, man. I mean, I love LT, man. We all love LT with the speed and everything. But Mo, you hit right on the head. The route running is important. It's essential in the game, and that helped him with those Super Bowls. I mean, not just running through between the tackles and knowing the hole, but pass catching as well. So I gotta give Marshall Faulk all the love and the praise for that.
Will?
I love LT. I love his versatility. He was throwing touchdown passes out the backfield, but I got to go with Marshall Faulk. Not just for the fact that he was running routes, but you also have to look at he was a decent blocker. Someone who could protect Kurt Warner. And you guys already said it. He was running routes while receivers ran. And running between the tackles, what he did with some force. So I got to give it to Marshall Faulk. Love LT for his versatility, but when you go back and look at Marshall Faulk, he was just too good. He was just too good. And you mentioned Roger Craig being the one-on-one. I agree with that too.
Yep. Marshall Faulk was the second guy to do it. Had 1,000 yards rushing and 1,000 yards in the air. That is fucking sick.
That's
insane,
sick.
bro.
That's
I mean,
sick.
that is insane, dude. That only 2 guys to able to do that. And back in the day, you didn't really have running backs catching them out of the backfield during that time, you had running backs. Yeah, you had running backs straight running the ball. I think this is the day and age where if you be versatile, you're versatile back in the day. LT 29 touchdowns was I loved that as well. His 29 touchdowns was really, really good.
Well, slow down on that. Well, my thing with that is a lot of that too came from not only him running the football, running all those gimmick and gadget plays too. I mean, again, great athlete, fantastic athlete, but let's look at the play calling that led to all that.
Guys, I want to add one more player to this. And he didn't have the full career that LT and Marshall Faulk had, but for about a 4-year window before injuries, Priest Holmes was a monster.
He was.
Priest Holmes was a monster. Go back and look at Priest Holmes.
Yep.
Not just with the production on the ground and in the air, but he had like 3 years where the man had like almost 60 touch. I mean, Priest Holmes was a beast.
He was sick. He had like a good 4-year run with the Chiefs.
He did before the injury. He was amazing.
But I got a better one. Okay, LT or Adrian Peterson.
I'm still taking Adrian Peterson.
So
LT is more versatile, but my God, you can hand Adrian Peterson the ball 40 times late in the fourth quarter, and the man still has the same amount of energy that he had in the first quarter.
I like that. I like that. Matt Forte. Matt Forte was underrated.
Matt Forte was nice. Very underrated.
He was another guy out of the backfield too. He was another guy that catch up out of the backfield too. I'm taking AP though. I gotta take AP, man. AP was something serious, bro. When he get the ball, everybody moving out the damn way. Everybody just move out the way.
Decision. Particularly in the fourth quarter, that was a business decision.
Yep.
So he ran people over, then he outran them.
Yep. Yep. But I remember it was. I can't forget this play, but I see it all the time, though. I see it all the time. You remember that the game against Pittsburgh, that catch that he made, and Ike Taylor tried to get in the way. He just flat out ran him over and just ran.
Yeah.
He just ran the block over. He just flat out ran.
He was different, man. I mean, the league is not short of underrated running backs when you look at their numbers and their little windows. Like I would say, even old boy from Seattle, Sean Alexander, he had about
yeah.
Sean Alexander was nice for about 4 or 5 years.
You don't know nothing about them, man. Sean Alexander, Clinton Portis, all of those guys.
Let's not forget what Ward Dunn did too.
Mm-hmm. Ward
He's
Dunn,
one of my favorite backs because of what he did on the field and everything he did for his community off the field. Amazing.
Yep. Lamar Miller was a good. Lamar Miller, he was a really good one. A catch out of the backfield, run it 99 yards, running 99 yards.
Ricky Waters.
You had Terrell Davis, who played with headaches. For Denver, who played with headaches and still was able to run people over. Man. Like I say, man, we had
Terrell Davis like a 6th or 7th round draft. It was something insane. And then he just became the best back in the league.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, Westbrook.
Brian Westbrook.
He was
I love the Brian Westbrook.
That was Donovan McNabb's best friend, Brian Westbrook. He opened up everything for McNabb. Westbrook was nice. There were so many talented running backs over the years that they get lost in the wind sometimes. Lamar Miller is one that no one talks about. That dude was
underrated, dude. That dude was under the radar because he played with Miami and he played with the Houston Texans. That's one of the few running backs, smaller running backs that would get over 1,000 yards. And he would catch about 400 yards receiving as a running back. That's one of the guys that was really good. He said Fred Taylor should be.
Fred Taylor is so underrated. That's a really good one, East Coast. Nice.
I think my boy from my Saints, Deuce McAllister, is very underrated.
Mm-hmm. Deuce McAllister, all those guys, man. I used to play with all those goddamn guys on the Madden game. I used to play with all those guys. I remember that. I remember all those guys, especially Deuce McAllister. I used to play with that dude all the time. So we're gonna go with the last segment. We're gonna go with the play callers, the play callers of the NFL. So it's quite a few out there, but Dez, I'm gonna start with you. I ain't talk so much, so I'm gonna start with you. Give me your top play callers that you know in the NFL who you think is very good at play calling.
All right, number 5, like 1 through 5.
Yeah, go ahead. You can just go with any 5. You don't gotta
go 5. Bill Belichick. I mean, he's a great play caller. I still think he is. I think it's Daniel Jones, and I know there was some controversy this offseason about probably getting rid of him because of his arm talent and inconsistency. 4, I like Zach Taylor from the Cincinnati Bengals, I believe. That coach, he definitely schemes Joe Burrow well, man. I think he's really one of the best play callers in the game. Andy Reid is number 3 on my list because what he's done with Patrick Mahomes and building a dynasty. You think about it, with Juju coming in last year, he inserted well. Tooney as well from the trade, well. Number 2, Mike Tomlin. He's done really, really well, I think, with Pittsburgh not having a losing season and be able to adjust from not having Big Ben last year to having Kenny Pickett. And number 1, and not just because I'm a Bronco fan, but I really did a deep dive last night when I got home from work. Sean Payton, man.
He's a hell of a play caller. That's not a
hell of a play caller. Like people, man, look what he did with Drew Brees. Jameis Winston. I remember the season where he had backup quarterbacks and they made the damn, I think, playoffs that year. So just for him to scheme week to week to week, I like that because it does keep opponents on their toes. And there's one more, Tony Dungy. I got to add another one. Tony Dungy. He was a great play caller, I think. A great play caller with Indianapolis with the Peyton Manning days. So that's my top 6. That's my top 6 right there.
All right. So we're going to go. Mo, give me your top play caller. It can be offense. You can mix them offensive, defensively. Yeah, you can mix them.
So for me, Andy Reid. No order. Andy Reid.
Yeah.
I think Sean McVay is a great play caller. Even though Sean McVay is very innovative. Sean Payton, you got to go with Sean Payton is one. Sean Payton and what he did with that Saints offense, even when the personnel changed, that's a great play caller. And obviously, I'm biased. Shanahan,
you got to put him up. Yep.
Shanahan and what he can do, and he's the main reason why I have that receiving core in the top 5. Not because they're great as individual talents, is because the way he coaches them up and the way he sets them up for success. After those 3 that really stand out to me, I would say the guy that coached it is this Sean I'll pronounce his name wrong. Stretchen.
Which one?
He was with the Eagles. He coached up Jalen Hurts.
Shane Steichen.
I like his mindset because he puts Jalen Hurts in the best position to succeed. So I think he's innovative and it will just get better because he's a young guy. So I think he's still up and coming. And if I was going to go on the other side of the ball as maybe a defensive coordinator, I don't know. I might have to go back in the day. I'm going to give credit to somebody that historically is known for being a great defensive coordinator. I'm going to go with Andy Reid. Not Andy Reid, but I'm going to go with old Buddy. Buddy from the
Buddy Ryan.
Ryan because look, guys, hear me out. The man came up with that 46 defense, and nobody was ready for the 46. It just overwhelmed the whole league. So I'm going to go with Buddy Ryan because that 46 defense, it took the league by storm because it was all about pressure.
All right, go ahead, Go ahead, Will.
My guys, Andy Reid, of course, for everything that he's been doing. Sean McVay for what he did, for what he's done with the Rams. I know he's in a rebuilding process, but I think he will get that thing together. Sean Payton, I think, will be fine. If I gotta go old school, well, Mike Tomlin first, and then before my old school pick. And I know I almost struck a chord with some people, but can Mark Levy get some love? I know he never won a Super Bowl, but to get his teams there 4 times consecutively, that's still a thing to me.
Yep. So, all right. So, obviously, I'm gonna alternate between offense and defense. So, my offensive guy, you got to put Kyle Shanahan up there, man. Kyle Shanahan with the Falcons. It was a track meet with the with the 49ers. Got to put him up there as an offensive play caller, especially with especially with what he did with Brock Purdy last year. You got to give him some credit for that. Winning 7 big games, including going to the NFC Championship before Brock Purdy got hurt. Now on the defensive side, I'm gonna go with DeMeco Ryans. DeMeco Ryans is an elite defensive guru. Y'all think Darius Stingley? Y'all think Sauce Gardner was the man last year? Watch Darius Stingley this year. Watch Darius Stingley come out this year. And plus he got his boy Jimmy Ward. So DeMeco Ryans, that's the offensive defense. And then another one, and then number 3 and 4. You gotta put Sean Payton. Sean Payton up there. You gotta put Sean Payton up there as well. He's a very good offensive play caller as well. I think that defensive line, I think that that offense is going to definitely improve. But that's if the down players actually stay on the field. If they can be healthy and stay on the field for once in a lifetime. My other defensive guru is Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh from the New York Jets. That coach the hell out of some defense. That defense was really good, led by Sauce Gardner, Quentin Williams. All of those guys was over there. So my number 3 and 4 offensive defensive players, and number 5 Shane Steichen from the Indianapolis Colts. He's a very creative offensive coordinator, a very creative play caller. And for the defensive purpose, I'm gonna go with the old school. I know nobody probably kind of remember this, but we got to go with Jerry Glanville, Atlanta Falcons.
Oh,
Jerry Glanville.
What was the nickname of when you came in there when he coached
the Gris Blitz defense?
Yeah.
That was the Gris Blitz defense, man. I watched a lot of film on those guys, man. Those guys was really good, man. I watched it. And then you got that Bears defense who was really good. You got that Bears defense who was really good too. With Singletary in the at the linebacker position.
Hey, Coach, let me throw one more in there because
go ahead.
You have to mention this guy's name, Bill Walsh.
Bill Walsh. Yep. Bill Walsh.
Really good. You have to go with Bill Walsh.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Bill Walsh. Yeah, you have to go with him. What's good? And you can't forget about that 2000 Ravens defense. You can't forget about that 2000 defense. That was probably the best defense that I ever seen in my entire life. All you had, if you get 10 points, you get nothing.
That's all they needed was 10.
Yeah, you get 10 points. They up by 2 possessions. You get nothing. You get nothing for the full game. You basically get nothing for the full game. All they had to do was be up double digits.
Trent Dilfer was the perfect quarterback for that team.
Yeah, Trent. All he didn't need to do was turn the ball over.
Just don't turn the ball over. That's it.
That's all he didn't need to do. Yeah,
they intimidated everybody.
Yep.
Everybody. Like I remember when they had them games against the Titans. Eddie George is like 6'3". He played like he was like 5'10" when he played against them. They used to eat Eddie George alive.
You ain't lying. You ain't lying about that. And Cool McKay brought up Jim Johnson. Jim Johnson, former Eagle.
Yeah, rest in peace.
Rest in peace on that. Rest in peace on that one. So other than that, man, it's been a great morning show, you guys, man. We'll be back on here tomorrow. You guys know. Mo, tell the people they can follow you at.
On the Empire Sports Empire Network. The podcast NBA Cypher drops today. Check it out. Other than that, I'll see you guys back here tomorrow.
Des?
Sports Empire Network, my YouTube channel. Definitely put out some more Colorado content. We already know about Prime Time saying he doesn't want to be an NFL coach. So I'll be back here tomorrow chiming in.
Will?
The Sports Report podcast on Facebook and YouTube will be on Monday talking about general sports. Tuesday talking about pro wrestling and combat sports. And then also the Geek Gauntlet podcast, talking everything geek, anime, comics, gaming, you name it, we got it. Saturdays.
Checking that out.
Okay.
Checking that out.
Appreciate that.
I got a homie, Leo Rydell with Geekly Goods. I'll put you on, bro, for sure.
Appreciate that, man. You can catch that. We got a Facebook page and a YouTube channel for the Geek Gauntlet podcast as well. So and that's on Saturday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern. Yep.
Y'all know where y'all can find me at. Y'all can find me right here later today. I will be doing the WNBA game. It may be a mercy rule, but hey, I'm just killing time for the NBA draft. That's all it is. But y'all know introduction to pretty much find me. Y'all know where to find me at. As for your boy Coach Dante, as for your boy Mo Better, boy Dez, your boy Will. We'll see y'all. That's tomorrow, next morning show, guys. Have a good rest of your day.